The Democratic Alliance will elect its Gauteng provincial leadership at a congress in Boksburg today. The race for chairperson is between two contenders, Msimanga and Khume Ramulifho. Msimanga will be looking to retain his position against Ramulifho. Party leader John Steenhuisen will address the almost 1,000 delegates attending the Congress. Our senior reporter Aviwe Mtila is in Boksburg and joins us live from there now. Aviwe, Gauteng, along with probably the Western Cape, the real jewels in the political crowns that political parties usually chase, and key would be who ends up leading the DA heading into the national polls. How are you reading matters there from where you're standing?
Well, definitely a crucial province, Marcel. You know, it's the economic hub of South Africa, Gauteng, as the Democratic Alliance itself is about to elect its top three positions. That's the leader, that's the chairperson, as well as the deputy chairperson. That is, of course, going to take the party itself to the 2024 elections. We know that there are three premier candidates already, and we know the front runners for the leadership position is Msimanga, wanting another 5 years at the head of the party in the province, but now being contested, of course, by Khume Ramulifho, someone that is the member of the provincial legislature, been in the party for the last 25 years. In fact, I'm going to catch up with both leaders just to try and find out what they want and how they want to steer the Democratic Alliance into the next election. Let's start with Khume Ramulifho. Thank you for joining us at eNCA. But let's maybe first reflect on the last 5 years under Msimanga. Hits and misses?
Yeah, thank you for the opportunity. We haven't done as much as one would have loved to. When you look at 2019, we lost 3 seats in the legislature, which is the first time for the DA to lose seats since I joined the party 25 years ago. Then 2021, again, we lost 78 seats in the province, which again is a problem. So for me, leaders lead when there are tough times. You don't only lead and you expect that everything will be simple and easy. You must look at the conditions, the environment, and able to provide leadership and guide everyone to a successful win. So we have not done that, and with such a challenge. We have been seeing ANC declining. We have not been gaining from the ANC decline, which is a concern, because we are here, we're in the space. I believe that the DA should have actually occupied that space, and that's why I want to, lead the province. From today, when we close the Congress, I'm going to lead the province, rally around activists, who some of them have been discouraged or disgruntled. But since I announced my candidature, they're saying, we want to come back. We want leaders with integrity, people who can be scrutinized in public and be able to say, here I am, I want to lead you. Because many politicians are actually leading many of our voters to lose interest in politics, because the life we lead is not something which is comfortable. People are not happy with it. You can't even lead us with scandals and we expect that voters will come and join us and support us. So that's why we've got so many voters who are not participating in our elections, because they look at leaders and feel like these leaders are not representing us. Look at how they live their life. So I want to restore public confidence so that we've got leaders who will be able to lead and serve and be with the community. And you must be able to say, whatever you do, you must be able to say, here is what I'm doing, rally behind me, and people must do that with confidence. And that is why I'm raising my hand.
You mentioned the decline in 2019. Also, we saw that decline at the local government elections in 2021. What's at the heart of this decline?
Again, it's the issue of, public trust. The public is losing trust to the politicians, because that deficit, it's also looking at the number of participants in terms of the elections. So like Gauteng, we have 6.2 million registered voters. And when you look at 2019, only 4.2 million have voted. That on its own tells you that it's a problem. So we want to make sure that, the voters participate in elections and give mandate to political parties. But in this instance, we want them to rally behind the DA so that the DA will be able to lead and provide services to all residents of the province. So we have got lots of interest in politics, and that's why we want to reignite the mood, make sure that we revive and invite all people to be active again, so that we support our democracy, because this is the freedom which many people have fought for. So we can't just let it go. But we must lead by example as leaders. We cannot have leaders with scandals left and right. And you look at them and say, what is that they're offering? So that's why I'm saying, I'm here, I'm prepared to lead, and subject me to scrutiny. I'm ready to lead the Congress, and I'm going to close it today.
Closing the Congress, but you've raised up your hand also to be premier potential candidate. What are you going to do differently from the last 5 or so years?
No, obviously, when it comes to the issue of premiership, it's when looking at government, running the government machinery. Though at this point of time, we don't know who is a preferred candidate or a chosen candidate. I've just gone through the process. But my priority is to ensure that Gauteng becomes a province of opportunities. We need to revive our economy, making sure that we create conducive environment for job creation so that we can rally around many people to get job opportunities so that they can succeed and lead the life we want. We want to fight crime because it's not safe to be in this province anymore. So those are some of the priorities which I have. But I will outline that when the decision has been made. And if I'm going to be that candidate, I'm going to outline the entire the entire plan. But for now, I want to seal this deal and close the Congress.
Okay, Khume Ramulifho, the man that's put up his hand, of course, to be, the leader of the Democratic Alliance in Gauteng, to steer them, of course, into the 2024, elections. In fact, let's bring in Msimanga, the current leader of the DA, and who's been leading the DA in the last 5 years. Thank you for joining us at eNCA. I'm sure you heard those words there from your potential leader, if I may say. Last 5 years, it's been in decline, the party itself. 2019, 2021, and that's at the heart of your leadership. What's behind that?
Well, I think it will be unfair for somebody to come and say in 2019 I was responsible. In 2021, I had just taken over. You would remember that in 2020 when I put up my hand, nobody wanted to put up their hand because this party was in a mess in Gauteng. We had the national leader, we had the federal leader who was Msimanga at that time leaving the party. The provincial leader left the party. We had regional leaders, in a number of regions that left the party. And with them, they went with a number of structures. And nobody wanted to put up their hand because they knew the job that needed to be done there was the hardest. Right now, it's not by mistake that we find ourselves ahead of the ANC in the polling. So I don't know where this thing of declining is coming from, because right now, I have never fought a by-election that I've lost. That's number one. Number two, we have now over 89% of our branches and our constituencies launched, which means that we have the machinery ready to go to the elections. We have done our post-mortem. We have distributed a ready-to-govern document that looked at all our weaknesses and our strengths, and we looked at all the things that we had done wrong, in 2019 and also in 2021, and how do we then correct them. And this is why we are ready now to go to elections. So it becomes fashionable for people to then say, well, it looks like we are heading in the right direction, let's jump on board. But then the delegates today, I can tell you, will speak for themselves and will walk out of here with them saying we cannot change pilots while the plane is mid-air. We are going to 2014, and there's confidence that we are going, the direction that we've taken since 2020 is the right direction, and we're going to continue doing what needs to be done.
Why should these nearly 1,000 delegates trust you, given the issue of integrity that's even been raised by your contender, the cloud of scandals that circulate you? Why should they then vote for you?
Well, what cloud? I mean, if somebody says, integrity and all of that, they must explain what do they mean by that. What are the issues that they're talking to? And if you can then ask that question, then you can get the answers. You cannot then, throw innuendos there and hope that the innuendos will win you votes. What win you votes is how you put a vision in front of people, how you get the vote, how you get the delegates to rally behind a vision that you've put together. As I said, we have been able to put in the provincial management committee that is being able to, for the first time, feel included. We have a provincial executive committee that meets on a regular basis. We have structures that feel supported, that have been working together nicely for the first time in a very, very long time. Now, if you want to then come and want to best somebody and think that is going to win you votes, that has failed in the DA, and I promise you it's still going to fail today.
And what are you going to do differently then, if anything, leading the DA into the next 5 years and crucially into next year's election?
Well, look, I mean, there's quite a number of things that we have picked up. One is that our public representative under a serious amount of pressure right now, given the fact that there is service delivery issues, that our councillors are being abused on a daily basis. People no longer now call the municipality and log in calls on the call center. They call councillors, sweat councillors at all hours of day and night. What we now need to, where we're now implementing is that we are now getting our councillor well-being program together, where we can support our public representative. We are training our activists and people that are going to be assisting us throughout the elections to make sure that we don't have what I call the Mugabe style of elections, where the presiding officers in certain stations will frustrate the electoral processes on the day of elections. We're going to make sure that that doesn't happen. The other thing that we are going to do, that you will see, our messaging is completely slightly different. We are saying, let's not go out there and bash the ANC. Those days are gone. Everybody knows that the ANC has failed. What South Africans, and more specifically the people of Gauteng, wants to hear is what is the alternative. They want to hear what is it that we're going to do. And this is why I said to you earlier on, we've put a ready-to-govern document together that talks about the infrastructure, that talks about how we deal with issues of safety and security, how do we deal with issues of the economy, how do we deal with issues of electricity. Those are some of the things that we are now saying. These are things that South Africans want to hear. What is the alternative that you're going to be putting on the table? My opponent is talking more about me instead of talking about how we then go forward. And I think this is what the delegates are going to be having to use to judge for themselves today, to say, is there somebody with a plan, or is there somebody who just wants to talk about an opponent?
I think South Africans also want to hear how you're going to deal with the issues of coalition. Because we heard, of course, DA is largely riding on the ticket of coalition governance, but on reality, what we've seen from 2016 is how dismally it has provided services for the people on the ground. How are you going to handle that?
Well, I think it's a mistake to then say coalitions have performed dismally. While you're using the yardstick of just a few municipalities in Gauteng, there's coalitions that are happening in the Eastern Cape. There are coalitions that are happening.
But you're governing in Gauteng. They failed in Gauteng. They're failing the people on the ground.
But this is why I'm saying to you, if you want to use that as a yardstick, I think you are wrong, because you need to look at coalitions in its totality and say where there are problems, what have been done to correct those. Tshwane is now stable. The reason why Tshwane is stable is that we have been able to then find each other and find a majority there. Where you find that there is instabilities where the coalitions are not in majority, you need to make sure that you build a majority. You need to make sure that there is, before you get to those councils or even get into government, you have an agreement. This is why the Moonshot Pact is important. So that before you even get to elections, you are able to then say, what is it that we want to achieve? Close your eyes, think of a South Africa that works. What does it look like? What does safety look like? What does education look like? What does the economy look like? What is infrastructure looking like? If you're able to then look into that, then you can then say, if we want to see this as what is a new South Africa, then you can then take the steps back and say, what do we have to do to then make that a reality? Who will be able to then help us to then do that? That's when you go into a coalition. You don't start by saying, let's form government and then share positions and fight up over positions. Then you're heading the wrong way. And I think I'm the only one between the two of us who have had, since 2016, the experience of working with good and bad coalitions. And I think this is one of the things that will put me in good stead here today and going forward, to be able to use the experience of having worked with coalitions to do what needs to be done.
All right. Thank you very much, Msimanga, the current leader of the DA in Gauteng for the last 5 years. But of course, today the voting will be underway at around 1 o'clock. That will determine if he stays for the leader of the DA in Gauteng for the next 5 years, or if indeed it's going to be Khume Ramulifho. Of course, those outcomes will find them out at around 4 o'clock when the official announcement will be made. And then the person that closes the Congress will be the leader, one of the two that we just spoke to now, Marcel.
Indeed. Aviwe Mtila speaking to the two people in the hot seat, reporting to us live there from Boksburg, where the Democratic Alliance are holding their Gauteng Provincial Leadership Congress today. We'll get more from Aviwe over the coming hours.